I cut ties with my brother after he abandoned our mom during her life or death surgery to be a simp for his entitled, narcissistic girlfriend. I have been fuming for months now and need an anonymous way to vent my frustrations. If turning 21 soon was never really close to my brother at 19. Maybe it's a sibling thing or the fact that our personalities are too different. Whatever it may be, I always felt like he was acting close to me only when he needed help with schoolwork. And he basically avoided, ignored, or even bullied me when I was not useful. Needless to say, that type of behavior never made me want to be close to him. And I have already made peace with that. What baffles me, however, is that, despite being super close with our mom at 47, sometimes almost to the point of being mama's boy, he started to be distant and later ignored our mom. Despite her getting diagnosed with eye cancer and having her left eye completely removed. Just because his girlfriend was super controlling and honestly jealous, even though we are his family and not her competition, but girly is kinda crazy. What can I say? Now, I need to add some additional context. Our mom is a single parent. She raised us basically on her own. As our father was an alcoholic with a tendency to be violent towards my mom. Which is why she divorced him when I was 6. And he died of a heart attack 2 years after that. He was on heart meds before. And you're not allowed to drink while being on those meds. So basically he dug his own grave. Our father was never a dad to us. He was almost not present in our lives and just gave us trauma. Though I'm not sure how much of that my brother remembers since he was young, 4 when they started the divorce. And mom tried to somehow shield us from abuse. Even making sure that I took my brother to a safer place, so in that way he was sorta shielded from all the abuse. I specifically wanted to mention that, because my mom, though she tried her best to raise us as good people and to treat both of us equally, always sorta shielded my brother since he was younger and a problem child, whereas I was easier to raise since I mentally matured earlier than my peers, was a lot more self-sufficient, and never needed help with schoolwork and such. I even went to high school in a different city, my country's capital city, staying at student dorms, and then continued to do the same since I started university up until last year at least. So let's introduce my brother's girlfriend into the story now. Let's call her Stacy, obviously not her real name. Though even if I did put her name, she would never know since neither of them speak English. Stacy is a year younger than my brother. They have been dating for 2.5 years, now not as problematic in my country. And also since they were both minors at the time they started dating, as far as I know. And also because the difference is like just a year. And they have met through their mutual friends, since we are all from the same village. And we kind of went to the same elementary middle school, one 8-year schooling institution in my country, followed by 4 years for high school. Both my brother and Stacy went to high schools in nearby cities, traveling from home since it's like half an hour by bus for my brother, and a bit longer for her. Since beginning, I wasn't really close with Stacy, as she was the complete opposite from me personality-wise. And also because I wasn't even that close with my brother. And I was at the dorms most of the time, coming home like once a month or every 2 months. Their relationship developed quite fast, they even slept over at her, or our family houses, not even a few months into the relationship. I expressed concerns over this fast development to my mom. Since they were both young. And this was like the second relationship my brother had. And he was getting progressively more and more simp-like towards Stacy, as time went on. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't really care about them that much. But I was concerned because my brother would spend all the money he earned working part-time and later, after high school, full-time on Stacy, and would also make my mom take Stacy with her when she went shopping for clothes, to buy her something too. To me this whole situation seemed to be out of hand since we're not in the best financial situation. And, while my mom never asked my brother for his money, or made him pay for our household bills, she never expected she would have to pay for stuff for his girlfriend too. Also, TBH, Stacy kinda struck me as someone with main character syndrome. Since her behavior was super entitled. For example, last year when she found out my mom and I went shopping for winter jackets without her, both of us had our jackets for a while, and needed new ones. Not that it matters since it was never her business to begin with. She made my brother buy her not 1, not 2, but 4 jackets and a coat for that winter. This is just one example. I have plenty more. But I think this one shows her character well. To continue the story, I have to say that Stacy never really liked me, and always saw me as a competition. I don't know why, honestly. She would always make jabs at me in every conversation. So I would always avoid talking to her too much. Though that was impossible when she stayed at our house. Then, last year from September to early Jan this year, her behavior got even worse. And after a fight over a bed I'll get to that she somehow had on her own. Without ever voicing her complaints to me, she made my brother move in with her, and her whole family, very messy family. I would have to talk for days if I started talking about them too. Bad thing. We don't have one house, but kind of like two houses next to each other, with like a front and backyard. This house belonged to my late maternal grandpa, who he stayed with after Mom's divorce and basically till his death. Now, only one of those houses is heated during winter, and we squeezed there to save up on heating. Stacy and my brother would have separate rooms when they were at our place, my late grandpa's room to be specific important later. And my mom would sleep in the living room area right next to that room. I was at the dorm, and would only come for weekends sometimes. So I slept on a pull-out couch in the large guest room area that was a bit colder than that main area, which I never minded that much. But my mom would always feel sorry for me. Last December I came home, this time to stay, since I left the dorm and was going to travel to uni from home, a decision I made since my mom was working and tired all the time, needed help with the house and all, and the two of them were far from helpful and, in fact, just made more mess because they almost never did any housework. Anyway, the day I came back was Saturday. Mom and I were tired from the move, and since my brother and Stacy weren't staying over, I just put their beddings to wash, put mine in that room, and slept there. Now, I have to say it's not the first time this happened. I was too tired. And my mom also wanted me to be closer to her so we could chat. And she also didn't want me to have to pull out the couch and basically sleep in a colder room when I had a free bed. No one had any issues with this. This is my house after all. Well, no one but Stacy. Apparently, she didn't like that I slept in her bed. Again, this is my house, and again, this was my grandpa's room before he died, meaning he slept in that bed. Later my brother slept in that bed. And like I'm sure at some point my mom slept there too. I changed the beddings to my own. Theirs needed to be washed anyway. She was not there at that time. I truly didn't and still don't see the issue here. And to reiterate, she actually got pissed at me on her own, never told me that to my face, but decided to make my brother move in with her and her whole family. And then she texted my mom some vague messages about how she felt disrespected. So yeah, girlie doesn't like me for no reason, got mad at me because of a bed, and decided to just isolate my stupid simp of a brother from his family instead of, I don't know, acting like a normal person and maybe talking to me if she has any issues. But no, that's below her. So anyway, from Jan to early June this year, my brother was distancing himself from mom and me, which truly hurt mom since she felt abandoned and like he chose Stacy over his own family. In June my brother stopped contacting me, and in early July he also cut contact with mom, which was even scummier because mom went to a different country in May, trying to find better work opportunities. All in all, my mom messaged him a lot to try to contact him to see how he was. But he acted like an idiot and ignored her, which broke her heart a bit. In mid-August, my mom came on a sort of vacation back home while she waited for her work visa papers to be processed, and during that time she found out she had an eye cancer. Since it was inside her eye, they decided it was for the best to remove her eye completely and then extract part of it and test if it's malign, instead of first poking it to extract some and making it worse if it is. My mom was obviously shocked but decided to be strong. She wanted to tell my brother too and, if possible, make up with him somehow, just in case things go bad. Both my maternal grandparents died from some sort of cancer. So this obviously made her afraid of the worst outcome. My brother, the arsehole that he is, however, was super cold about this life-altering news once he heard it. First of all, we had to visit my paternal grandpa and contact my brother through him to arrange the whole meeting. Then he was super cold at the news, despite my mom basically crying in his arms when she was telling him the news. And lastly, even after this news, he still never contacted mom to see how she was. My mom decided to somehow give him another chance in a way and visited him once more, at the end of September, right before the surgery. During that meeting he didn't pay attention to the fact that his own mother is going to have a surgery where they'll remove her eye. But he decided it was the best time to ask if mom can go with him to change his SIM card from mom's to his name, so he can get a new phone, probably for Stacy, since he mentioned she broke hers recently. Mind you, my mom has only recently paid off his phone. And also, that phone number belonged to my late grandpa. And my brother just took it since it was convenient to use. So my mom rightfully said no, which just pissed him off. And he didn't even listen to anything afterwards. Yup, that's right, getting a freaking new phone for freaking Stacy is more important than his mother, who, by the way, died on the operating table while giving birth to him and had to be revived having a life-changing surgery. At that point, even my mom realized what an arse he is and decided to just prioritize her health first. She had her surgery. Everything went okay. And since then she has been at home, resting and recovering, while waiting to get results and her first prosthetic, as she's getting it next Monday. And then she'll meet with her doctor, find out the results from tissue analysis, and discuss the next treatment plan. The reason why I'm even more pissed off and decided to vent here is the fact that, a few days ago, my idiotic brother made my paternal grandpa call us and ask if my mom truly had surgery. And if he could talk with her. I know that my brother made my grandpa do this since I could hear him and Stacy in the background, instructing my grandpa on what to say to me over the phone. So, the idiot somehow thought my mom was, I don't know, faking it or SMTH. And only when he heard from the village gossip that my mom had her eye removed did he actually believe it. I just told Grandpa the truth. Yes, she had surgery. And no, my mom was not able to talk about that, as at that time she was resting after taking her meds. I have no words for this poor excuse of a human being. I cannot comprehend how he is my brother. And honestly, although most of my family, including my mom, say that he only changed after getting together with Stacy, I don't think I could ever talk to him. I don't think I'll ever forgive him for this level of disrespect towards the woman that gave him his life and did her best to raise him despite our SHTTY circumstances. I truly have no words for this. I just needed a place to rant. I have been trying to hold in my feelings since I have to be there for my mom right now. And I just don't want to see her sad. Anyway, this is the shortest version of my current situation. I'm grateful my mom's surgery went well and hope that she gets better soon. As for the two pieces of SHT that are my brother and Stacy, I just want to not have to talk to them anymore. I have had enough of their craziness. Additional clarifications: I decided to add this, even though it's going to make this already long story even longer. However, I want to provide additional context. Stacy is very, how do I put it, a self-absorbed type. But her actions are not limited to just petty comments or using my simp brother. She didn't like me since she knew she wasn't going to get anything from me. And because she was jealous because she wasn't the center of my own mother's attention when I was at home. Since my mom wanted to spend every moment she could with me because at that time I lived at a dorm in a different city. She would always try to insert herself into our conversations and make it about her. I never cared to respond, since I saw through her, and I'm generally a non-confrontational type, unless someone pushes my buttons. And she did, a lot. Which is why I expressed my concerns to my mom. I said the same to my brother. But he didn't care to even listen. So I continued to ignore both of them, until she started being that way towards my mom too. And her behavior became even worse. There are many more examples of her having a main character syndrome, including the time she threatened to break up with my brother BC. She was jealous of one girl in his class that was appointed to go to prom with him. Prom is a grade-level event. Usually people from same class are arranged together based on number of people in that grade, and how many of them are male/female. My brother actually escorted two girls, but she was jealous only of the prettier one. Which made my brother text and call mom. On the night of his prom that was in another city, and not where we actually live. Event is made up of like grand exit from school. Then they take special buses to the venue, and after the event they return to school area, where parents pick them up. To drive there and pick him up because he'll end himself if she breaks up with him. Of course mom didn't go. She just told him to enjoy his night as this is an important event he'll always remember. And that she'll pick him up from school when they all return there by bus. He's not self-harming. This is just a manipulation tactic that he knows will hurt mom's feelings. And, honestly, it hurt mine a lot too because, unlike him, I am diagnosed with depression and anxiety. And I do have self-harming thoughts sometimes. So yeah, both of them are SHTTY people. And I wish I could say this only happened once. Other such events just kept happening. There was the time she got mad because of the color of my dress. Then her wanting to be the center of attention at someone else's my female cousin's 18th birthday. Important in my country because then you're officially an adult. It's often celebrated like a big event. People get dressed up and basically celebrate that person's birthday in a grandiose way. She also body shamed me basically for being too thin and commented on my food choices, etc. I really don't want to keep going on. The point is, I would get hurt, obviously. But I mostly tried to ignore her unless she said stuff to me directly because I decided not to engage with her behavior and give her more of that attention that she cares so much for. However, the thing that definitely crossed every one of my lines was when she started being white towards my mom too, following that bed incident I mentioned above. She texted my mother a lot, and I mean a lot, saying how she's disrespected. And when my mom didn't, I don't know, apologize to her, she started making my brother avoid talking to his own mother. Or, when he did, she would watch over him and basically interrupt him or limit the amount of time he spent with mom. Now, I'm not saying my brother is innocent, nor am I defending him in any way. I just find this so scummy. My mom is a really emotional person, sometimes overly so. So this type of thing really got to her. Stacy's behavior escalated to straight up listening to, like, in a way, overseeing, my brother's calls with mom. And one night she even grabbed the phone from his hand and started yelling at my mother. Simply because she mentioned she wanted to see her son and wanted him to move back. One thing to keep in mind. My mom wanted my brother to come back because she missed him. But she never said anything about making him break up with Stacy. We all sat down as a family once prior to most of this. And after the bad thing, as always in these family meetings, we were all open. Mom and I expressed our concerns politely and non-confrontationally to him. But he just stormed out of the house and refused to listen. So even this yelling didn't seem to bother him. At that point I was over them, like I didn't care for them, like ever. But this has hurt my mom way too much. And at this point, I just told her to forget it and focus on herself. This was before she left the country and before the diagnosis after she was diagnosed with cancer. She wanted to tell him about it and basically make up. After which the events I mentioned prior happened. So yeah, this is more or less the full story. I felt like I needed to add all of this because it adds some layers to this story and also because I'm so anxious about mom's upcoming appointments. As for the two of them, as I mentioned in the comment I made, I understand that they're young and immature. But I still think that there are some boundaries even kids know not to cross. It's one thing to have your own ideas and goals and move to pursue them. And it's definitely not the same as disrespecting another human's life, much less your own mother's life. And to add, because I know some people like to comment, this is not me saying that all parents are the best because they brought us into this world, like, I'm definitely not saying that, especially because of our father. However, I do think that a woman who loves you so much and who went through so much to raise you should be respected. I'll finish my story here since I know that at this point, I'm just rambling because of my anxiety and because I'm not on my meds for a few months now due to my depression and not seeing my doctors since like May. I know it's bad. But I'm focusing my energy on mom right now.